Okay, welcome back to Tea and Stuff. This week, I've actually been super psyched to talk with you for a little bit. This is the artist formerly known as Justin Other. So your first of all, your reference to tea is that you are a tea musician, a bit of a tea rapper. Why
Yeah.
don't you explain that from your point of view for a sec?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm a tea rapper. I might be the first. I don't know. Um, all I can say is that I start drinking tea, and around the fifth infusion, rhymes start coming out of nowhere. And I sit down and I make some beats, and I start writing about my experiences drinking tea and make funny songs and earnest songs and honest songs. And I just love tea so much, and it just starts coming out my ears and my mouth and my heart. And I just love tea and I love music, and here I am.
So was music were you doing music prior to the tea inspiration?
Yeah, I've been doing music most of my life on and off, always pretty casually, sometimes quasi professionally a while back, but I always have loved rapping. I've always loved making beats. It's just like, tea for me is an escapism. When I sit down with my gaiwan and my kettle, I just get taken away to another place. Whatever is going on in my world melts away. I'm returned to the present moment. I breathe, and none of this is new information for a tea head like you, but it's incredibly transportive, and the same can be said about music. I sit down with my MIDI keyboard, my guitar, my bass, my laptop, my headphones,
Yep.
and my tea, and I'm just gone. And any worries or any feelings of apprehension about the coming days disappear. I'm transported to the present moment. I'm expressing myself, and it's truly bliss.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, tea was for me. It was the first thing. Very anxious. Very. My brain's always going a million miles a minute.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when I sat down with a little tea table and a teapot or a gaiwan and a cup, my brain understood this as like being like a special time. And
Yes.
when I was having a real tough time finding something that was going to give me that type of fulfillment. So when it happened, and it happened without like it's not like somebody told me, "Hey, you should start drinking tea because it'll help with your anxiety and all this stuff." I just started drinking it because I liked it, but then all of a sudden started realizing the effects of it
Mm.
and how that affected my day and how much better my days were when I had that ceremony or practice in play. And it very quickly morphed into being a very everyday, like, and then consumed more and more of my life as the years went on. But um
Yeah.
it's yeah, I had a lot of you just kind of popped up a lot recently because you have a new album,
Yeah.
and I gave that a listen to, and obviously very, very good. A couple of them I get so caught up in, like in a almost like a meditational sense,
Yeah.
that it just melds into the next song without you
Yeah.
ever like having an idea of this is when the track stops and this is when the new one picks back up. And
Yeah.
it was phenomenal. It really is. I like, so did you have people, so you used, along with the beats that you created and the music, you incorporated people from T in their words. How did you obtain that audio? Did you reach out to people, or they reach out to you and they wrote like a specific part and recorded it, or did you grab it from somewhere else?
It's all specific for the album. I woke up one morning, T-Raps Volume 1 had been out for a month or so. I felt a little creatively stagnant. I tried to write a couple more T-Raps, like I'll just start the next volume, but it wasn't clicking. And so I
Hmm.
just posted in my stories, I said, hey, I want to make a lo-fi track, not an album, a lo-fi track featuring other people talking about what tea means to them. And I didn't expect much, return, because people are self-conscious about their voices or being recorded. But I was
Yeah.
so overwhelmed with over 20 pieces of audio that came in from all these, really, unique perspectives, but also in different languages. And people were really, they answered the call. And so when I sat down with all the audio, I realized it wasn't going to be one song, it would be too long. And so I listened and I listened and I listened to sentiments, and I got the translations from the people who spoke in other languages. And by listening to their words, I let that guide what the music would be. And so it was collaborative effort between the language being used, the sentiment, and then, whatever minimal skills I have as a producer to try to create a track that would support what they were saying.
Man, that's that's like that's a lot of work in a
It
good way.
was.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying it's not something just so easy as going, okay, I'm gonna do a T album, and then
Yeah.
just but like and then you have the idea, and then there's the execution, but
Yeah.
most people often forget about all that stuff that's in between,
Yeah.
and and the massive amount of skill you kind of already have to even go into something like that.
That's
And
true.
so when I first heard like, oh, did you hear there's a dude out there who's doing like T raps, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. And then
Yeah.
when I looked it out, I looked it up first. I was initially expecting it to be hokey.
Yeah, of course.
Like I was just because you sometimes you hear about those like very hobby specified music creations, and sometimes it's like it's good, but sometimes it's sort of silly. It's
Yeah.
slightly novelty.
Yeah.
And but when I listened to yours, it was like very much like, no, this is a guy that like is very good at music and obviously very talented or very interested and
Yeah.
becoming very experienced with what T is,
Yeah.
and you just took those two passions and you put them together.
Yeah.
And I think the execution was stellar because, like I said, it's something that I first labeled as being like, oh, this will probably be fun, but something I'll listen to once, giggle about, and then
Yeah.
sort of file it away.
Yeah.
But so you had the inspiration for the newest album, and
Yeah.
then the first album is super different
Yeah.
from the second.
Yeah,
Like
it's true.
the first was more like the different lyrics centered around life, also around T,
Yeah.
like pretty much all created by you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So do you ever have on the first album? Did you have anybody?
Nope, just me.
Um,
Just me rapping. Yep.
and so you just, I mean, what was it really just as simple as you just had you're sitting there enjoying tea and thinking about, I'm sure as a musician, you're just constantly kind of rattling around like lyrics in your head. And I'm sure it just evolved into like, wait a minute, there actually may be something here.
It started, it's like I was looking for a nice place to have tea that was quiet. I live kind of in a small apartment, and there's one spot that is just kind of like the worst spot in the house, but it's also the most undisturbed, and it's my laundry room, and it's very small, and it has a barn door, a sliding door. And so I bring this gross old red camp chair in there, and then another chair I put my feet up on. The washer is my tea tray, which is a little too high. I've got my tray up there, and I'm pouring lefty. I got the laptop on my lap. I got the headphones on. I'm drinking the tea, and I'm drinking this Lu Bao. That's the first track. I'm just sort of thinking out loud, drinking Lu Bao. I've been chugging Hacha like a hungry alligator, pursues of fish, invertebrate, amphibian, or insect. If I like the leaf, I write to the beat, inhale the scent of incense. And that was just what came. And I said, I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna do it.
It just was that immediate calling.
Yep.
How
Yep.
how was how was the first album perceived by people?
Um, I think that I think that I think that I had so few expectations that it didn't matter, which frees me up. I mean, the whole concept behind Just and Other is just to be a tea lover that expresses themselves about tea, but it's not about me. I want to get out of the way. I want to let ego aside, and I want to let the tea speak. If it means another 10 tea raps albums, great. If it means making pottery and teaware, great. If it means, just blogging and writing about my life through the lens of tea, great. But whatever it is, just to step out of the way. And so to let results fall where they will. And I was shocked to receive so much support on Bandcamp and shares on Spotify, and people reaching out saying how much the album like made them laugh. I mean, for me, the last track, I'm trying to get Paul from White 2T to follow me. I mean, that's the point of the track, is to convince him, and the fact that he writes me, he's like, this track slaps, and he reshares it to his Twitter, and he's feeling it, and so he said, it says, basically hit the follow button, and if you don't, man, welcome to the bromance. And he says, if I don't follow you, do we get to keep having our bromance? And I said, sure. So
All
it's been
right,
fun. Yeah.
fine. Jeez. And then yeah, I just saw the overwhelming, like I had heard of you when the first album came out, but then
Yeah.
when the second one was starting to like
Yeah.
just release and people were like sharing stuff around about it, it was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. Like just look at
Yeah.
the overwhelming support, and not just like
Yeah.
the easy just share, like
Yeah.
they just hit a share button, and that's like, it was people that were really like adding their own words into why
Yeah.
they should check you out,
Yeah.
not just that you're a rapper and yes, rapping about tea, but they're like, listen, like you said, like they're like, a lot of people are like, this slaps. Like it's
Yeah.
not just it's not just for giggles. Like this is
Yeah.
actually music you want to sit, listen to, and like you
Totally.
said, share with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
I,
mean,
I really
man,
wanted to. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
no, not at all. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I really wanted to call the album Session Songs because, like you mentioned about the meditative element, transitioning from one to two, getting a little bit tea drunk and listening, and it got rejected by Apple Music, and Session Songs is too generic because musicians, session songs, and I said okay, and so I said, how about just session, because it's like I just want this to be one session's worth of music, and it also got rejected. And so once those two, I finally realized they wouldn't accept something so generic in the music world. I had to call it cha.
Really,
Mm-hmm.
that's an interesting process.
Yeah.
You also mentioned about the teaware.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen a little bit of your teaware in here, but then what is your experience with pottery?
I've been a potter, quasi full time for about 3 years, mostly selling in local markets. Before the teaware, never selling online. I love setting up at a weekend, show, like a showcase, and
Mm-hmm.
all the other potters will have their stuff displayed on beautiful shelves with lighting, and I'll put all my pottery out in front of me, sit behind, and then brew gongfucha. And so every little like random passerby who's walking by, like da da da, need something for Mother's Day, I'll pour them up and talk to them about the tea. And they just like, what is this flavor? And this is so wonderful. And what is this, chamomile? And I say, no, ma'am.
No,
And
ma'am.
no, ma'am. And so I just been having a lot of fun making pots, and being in the studio, drinking stacked infusions in a thermos, probably 10 or 12, just bang 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 bang, all in a thermos of some old shang, and sit there and get the wheel spinning and think about tea and try to create something. And my stuff, since I launched on March 11th, it's all over the world. It's in Denmark, it's in Brazil, it's in Kuwait, it's in Canada, it's over there on the East Coast where you are. And I'm watching people have tea sessions from teaware I made with my hands, and it is so fulfilling.
I know, that's the ultimate reward, is just
Yeah.
seeing your stuff in use.
Yeah.
Man, so what do you do? Is that what you are you what would you say is do you have a specific profession that you do,
Mm,
or are you just a jack of all trade, or not jack of all trades, but you're a
yeah.
man of many hats?
I'm an artist. I'm an artist in my heart, and it's never it's never solidified enough to say that I'm one thing or I'm
This
another
or
thing.
that?
Yeah, I spent 7+ years as a professional dancer. Before
Oh,
that, yeah, I danced Argentine tango professionally, and before that, I was rapping and touring. And I've always loved doing pottery and making art and writing, and whatever it is, the calling, the muse. I try to just get out of the way and let art. And once you're making art that is genuine and authentic, things tend to fall into place in a way where I can support myself. And I've been doing it that way for about 15 years.
when do you think when have you always been artistic, like even since you were a kid?
Yeah, I was always acting. I started acting and singing and dancing when I was about 5. Both my parents were
Wow.
actors and dancers. They met
Oh, okay.
acting. My dad was a professional ballet dancer, and my mom was a modern dancer, and they met in the production of The Sound of Music. And yeah, it was kind of instilled in me. My dad's also a musician. He's a cellist and plays some other instruments. So yeah,
Jeez. Yeah, there's a lot of inspiration there.
yes,
Um, like what kind? So what else? I mean, we got T rapper,
yeah,
we got ceramicist, we
yeah,
have or potter, however we want to
yeah.
define say it,
Ceramicist is nice.
and then we have ex dancer, ex
Yeah,
actor. Well, not
yeah,
necessarily ex, but just these are a list of accomplishments.
yeah.
What else? Are there any other big accomplishments,
Mm.
or what? Is there something else you do recreationally, like for fun?
Yeah, I play a ton of volleyball. I played last night for 5 hours. I just got home from league at like 10:30. My body is killing me. I play about undefeated. I love volleyball. I spend time in nature. That's my spiritual space. I kayak, I hike, I mountain bike. I get out there and I camp or I spend the day and I just let it all go. I combine that with tea. I heat the water over the fire and I just love to be in nature. And other than that, I think something recreationally, but also, a step above recreationally is to try to look at every environment I step into and to ask myself the question, what can I positively contribute? And so it doesn't matter if I'm skilled or if I'm unskilled, never to be too cool for school, always to try to remain humble and to look at the people around me and say, how can I lift you up? And when I live my life that way, people that feel a little small at times start to feel bigger. And when they feel a little bigger, I feel a little bigger. And it's just a beautiful way to live. This is jury duty. This is traffic jams. This is crowded grocery stores. And it's kind of become over the years as like a methodology and a way of living.
It is. I mean, it's honestly, it's the way to live.
Yeah.
Um, I purposely have people I surround myself with that humble me.
Yeah.
So if I ever start to stray from that path, I have people that surround me that specifically help either show me that I'm falling off my own path, or they'll be like, hey, you know, take a vacation or something. Like, give yourself a break.
That's great.
What
Hey, what are
area?
you
So what?
what are you drinking?
Oh,
Real quick.
I'm doing spring sampling. So like I'm having many teas each day, which normally I
Yeah.
really keep it to one session, but
Yeah.
I've done all Yunnan teas. I did two
Yeah.
separate black teas, and they were both decent. And then this is a silver needle from this
Ooh,
morning that
yum.
is really good. Don't think I'm gonna carry it, but
Yeah.
but not because it isn't good.
Yeah.
Just
Because it's spendy.
no, it's even not that. It's just that I from the same producer. I also try to buy Mudan, which
Yeah.
I really like. So it's like
Yeah.
I'll go with the buy Mudan. But this is
Nice.
again, this is nothing worth throwing out. Like I didn't want to let these leaves go to waste,
Nice.
so they
Nice.
won't. What are
Cool.
you sipping on?
I'm drinking a 2015 Himalayan bouquet. It's a Nepal produced
Mm,
oolong and it's sold through the vendor Jiao Zhou over in Hungary.
dude, Nepalese tea is something that I really want to carry.
Yeah.
I c- I cannot find tea that I can super get behind. A lot of the
Yeah.
stuff that I've been trying is good. It's not bad tea. It's not poisonous for you, but
Yeah.
it just in terms of like if you'd like to brew this way, like you like to brew gong fu, multiple infusions
Yeah.
for like
Yeah.
at least allotted amount of time, they just don't perform like that.
Yeah.
They just haven't.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that there's Nepalese and Himalayan teas out there that are more than suited for gong fu. So
Yeah.
it's I know at least I know it exists. Like
Yeah.
I've tried it. I know that it's there. I just have
Yeah.
to keep my eyes and ears open.
Yeah.
Because it's a really it's an area of the world that really has some really great tea. But
Mm,
I think you got to either be lucky or you have to search for it.
totally. Yep. Well said.
So let's see what else we got, my man. Any
Mm,
education? What do you got education wise?
not much. I'm
My kind of
34.
guy.
Yeah, I'm 34. I went to community college a while back and dropped out to record albums and tour. And then 10 years later, I decided to get a degree in psychology. And I just finished my degree in December, setting me up for some graduate school. But
Ooh.
but my partner, she is an illustrator, and she just got into the Rhode Island School of Design in Providence. So she's going to go get her MFA in illustration starting in the fall, and that's a good school. And
Yes,
so, yeah,
it is a very good school. I'm
yeah,
very familiar.
yeah,
Wow. Well, so holy crap. Again, like
yeah,
that's why I'm sitting here. I'm just keep peeling back layers because
yeah,
every time I'm amazed, I'm like, there's more. There's more with this
yeah.
guy. So you after you do are your plans to do psychiatry?
um, my plan, my plan is to drink tea and make during her entire graduate program. So I'm going to cook, I'm going to drink tea, and I'm going to support her in every single way I can. I'm going to find the volleyball community. I'm going to find the nature and the shorebirds. And just especially during that first year while she's nose to the grindstone at this prestigious program, I'm just going to act as a supporting role.
Rock on. Rock
Yeah.
on. That's
Yeah.
people don't realize how like sometimes people look at that and they're like, "Well, but you should be out and you should
Yeah.
be fulfilling
Yeah.
your dream." It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess in your ideal scenario, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's better just to like you said, the one person do the extra work, the other person
Yeah.
help support, and
Totally.
that way if one person's having difficulty, the other one's there to
Yeah.
pick it up.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's the same situation with my wife and I. Like she does the normal 9 to 5. She's a
Yep.
works in hospital administration,
Oh, cool.
and then I do the tea business. I take care of the house, the dogs. Like
Nice.
that's I cook, I clean, do
Yes.
all the
Respect.
cooking, cleaning. So
Me
it's
too.
like,
Me too.
and I like to do it. Like
Yeah.
I worked restaurant jobs my whole life, so like
Oh, cool.
I know how to cook all different types of food
Mm,
and I like doing it. I even like the prep. Like that's another I mean, this is my like really calm time is like gong fu, but
yeah.
cooking also
Hmm.
like I get it's a different kind of relaxation, but
Yeah.
it's a meditation kind of in itself. So's cleaning. Like
Yeah.
I also I've always been a person that after I like clean like really like clean a room or something like that, I do get a very nice feeling of accomplishment.
Me too.
Like I truly do. Like
Yeah.
I look at that room and I'm not just trying to make myself feel better. I really go, okay, like that actually I feel good now. Like now
Yeah.
that everything is sort of situated and set.
Yeah. Can you talk to me a little more about your love of the kitchen? Because I'm in the kitchen cooking meals from scratch 2 to 3 times per day, every day. I'm a totally passionate at home chef. So tell me a little more about your love of cooking. What do you make?
I love stir fry.
Mm,
I love doing Italian.
mm.
I also like baking.
Yeah, me too.
Um, I don't do seafood, so we don't
Uh-huh.
really. That's one area we don't really have a lot of, and I don't necessarily have experience in.
Yeah,
Um, but I really love using like the fresh ingredients. Like
me too.
if you're in a pinch and or it's in the winter and you don't have anything fresh stored away and you have to go to the store and get some celery salt or something, like it's
Yeah.
fine. It's fine. It works. But if it's my choice,
Yeah.
like I want, and that's the other thing. Like I don't like doing the shortcuts, like the jarred minced
Mm-hmm.
garlic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I really not only enjoy, but I know the benefit of taking that clove out yourself, smashing it, deskinning it, mincing it up yourself fresh. Like it is completely different. It's truly not, and it's especially for me, it's not the same thing. It really elevates the dish to being. It's the same thing with tea. Is that I guess with food is I don't like food that I just consume.
Yeah.
Like I really do. I really like to. I'm not a huge eater. Like neither's my wife. Like we don't eat a ton of food at a time. We're not those like gorge ourselves types. It's just we like a good, nice portion of food that it's made with good ingredients, and on that plate there's a decent balance of proteins, fresh this or that.
Yeah.
But I've always been very, very passionate about that. I started working in upscale, what would they call it? Steakhouse, I guess.
Cool.
In the town I grew up in. So not only was it nice in that sense, but I also got to learn a lot about business.
Yeah.
And I learned about like what it took to run a business, because like the owner was just so vocal and open about everything that I'd be, I'd be sitting in there working and she'd just be rattling me off about how take this much product and then maximize it to making sure you make a profit and cover costs and stuff like that. And
cool.
So, and even like her ideas on business were big influences of mine. Just sort of like you be good to people, like you be honest with people. You be honest with people. You serve them a product that you're proud of, and then they'll appreciate that and they will return. She taught me a lot, honestly, about business. It was great. That just also lessons like sometimes you have to do an event where you don't get paid. Sometimes you do have to bite promotional bullets and do things without necessarily knowing there's going to be a specific return to it.
Yeah.
And those were all like, I mean, extremely valuable lessons that I was learning like super, super early on. It was a lot. And then from there, I'll come back. From there, I did all sorts of different food service. I've never worked in an Asian kitchen, which I would like to, but I don't know if I could keep up.
Fast.
I have such massive respect for how Asians tend to run their kitchens.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'd be in the way. I'd be like, even if I was doing me at my best, like I know I'd be in the way, and just they would be better. No offense to me, but they would be better if it was just them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I love what you said about having the perspective to realize that the payoff can come on the back end. It's like in this world that we live in, we're so used to working and seeing the results immediately. It's like if I work 2 weeks, I receive my pay for 2 weeks. And in this world of entrepreneurship and self-guided, not only employment, but also just passion-driven living, so much is on the back end. It could be years. It's like we have to invest today in ourselves and trust, which is very difficult as pennies get pinched and times get tight, to believe that things will come to fruition in the future. And I so respect that, and that's a great lesson. I've had to learn that the hard way, and the only way I survive is to look at my track record. I start to get a little bit squirrely or feeling financially insecure, and I think it's been 15 years, I've been fine, I'll be fine again.
Yeah, I'm real quick to get harsh on myself if like things are tough, or I'm looking at the bills at the beginning of the month and I'm like, crap, like, I'm gonna have to figure out some miracle to turn $2 into $5.
Right.
But it's like, and sometimes it doesn't work out, and sometimes you sit there and you go, crap, this bill's gonna get paid late, and I'm so easy to be like, dude, you need to pay your bills on time. You need to do the,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's like right now is a very extenuating circumstance, and
That's true.
it doesn't mean that it like you just completely forget about paying your bills, but
Yeah.
like a little bit of like self leniency, I think, is due,
Mm,
because like right now, if you're not like completely in the hole, homeless, have no access to any type of funds, if you're just doing a little better than that, like
yeah.
then you're basically the definition of good right now. So it's
Yeah.
like even like a lot of people that used to be big spenders and stuff like that, they've had to look at what they do and all the stuff they're involved with, and sort of have to make cuts here and there, and
Yeah.
just knowing that, and truly knowing that so many other people are in the exact same thing, and to know, like you said, that it's not failure. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
I guess in some circumstances there could be some hints of a little bit of actual failure in there, but
Yeah.
to just be like ultra hard on yourself right now,
Yeah.
especially for financial
Yeah.
reasonings, is
Yeah.
like, unless you really did something like you purposely spent a stupid amount of money, like unless like but otherwise, like I but we're all doing it, like
Yeah.
everybody is like, oh, I used to have, at the end of the week, I'd have X amount of dollars left over in
Yeah.
my bank account, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but we also have to remember that things were different then.
Yeah.
So at that time, your bills and stuff like that, you had more than enough to pay the bill, and then you did have that leftover to save.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now, in the current atmosphere, what you're getting paid, what things are rising costs, how could you expect to still do the same? Like, and
Yeah.
it's not your fault. That's
Right.
just it's just how it is. So like,
Yeah.
I try to respread that message as just as much as I need it respread for myself. But it's
Yeah.
like, if like, there's a lot of things that you can like consider okay to be hard on yourself about, but I just feel like right now it's just kind of not one of those things. It's just less productive to beat yourself up over it.
Yeah.
More productive to just figure out. I guess like tell people, like, when they're really frustrated in a hole like that, is like, what can you do?
Yeah.
You know what you can't
Yeah.
do. So why don't you make a list now of what you can do?
Oh,
Because
that's good.
odds are something in the can do list is gonna end up helping a lot more than just crossing one thing off. It'll unlock a bunch of other things. Um, so it's funny you said that you studied psychiatry. So I not an academically inclined person
Yeah.
completely at all. I got a bunch of learning disabilities, and it
Yeah.
just learning never really took off for me. But when I was after high school, I would just find myself like walking through a bookstore trying to find something I related to,
Yeah.
and nothing would work. Nothing would work. And then all of a sudden, I stumbled upon a psychiatry book, and I was like, "Oh
Hmm.
yeah, no, I'm interested in this." And then I got really into psychiatry for a number of years, and just learned because like I had like psychological issues myself, so it was like I
Mhm.
wanted to learn more about how the brain worked. And
Yes.
oh, so the reason I'm sad is a chemical imbalance. i, I want to know more about that chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, if nothing else, more than it's interesting. And so I taught myself a lot about psychology, and it's something I'm still like very, very interested in. I think specifically in the area of human behavioral
Yeah.
science.
Yeah.
Seeing why humans do what they do is utterly fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Part of the
Hmm.
reason for the podcast, I guess. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
I love hearing how other people, what makes them tick, like what they're involved in, like, because it's so easy to look at you and go, yeah, this is Justin Other. He's a T rapper, which is cool, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but I love to give that opportunity to like sort of talk more and be like, well, what else? Because most people aren't just one thing. Like, most people are, and most people are also a lot more than what they say they are.
That's right.
Like, I mean, I have very few words to say about myself, but if my wife steps in and
Mm.
talks about me, she'll go on for hours. So it's like that's kind of what that's oh my god, that's one of her biggest roles at events for us. Is
Really?
like, yeah, is I'll just be like, if somebody wants to talk like about, because like some people are like, oh well, where did you learn all this and stuff, and they'll start to really want to get into those questions. Sometimes it's perfect for her to take over and be like,
Yeah.
oh well, he was, and I'll be like, good. I just don't like talking about me like in
Yes.
that light. Like
It's difficult.
I'm proud of my accomplishments. Like it's not
Yeah.
like I have a trouble being proud,
Yeah.
but I have a real hard time talking to someone who's enthusiastic about what I'm doing, because
Right.
it brings up this triggered insecurity that makes
Yes.
me ultra nervous. And I'm just like, I don't want to talk about myself. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to. It just immediately, like, my brain will almost want to rationalize to the person why I'm not. You know what I mean? Why I'm
Yeah.
like I'll be like, no, 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 absolutely, absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a
But
compliment deflector myself.
I don't know where. I'm sure there is some deep rooted specific reason of pattern of behavior of how it developed, but it's a bear. I mean,
Yeah.
I've learned over the years to become much more kinder to myself,
Beautiful.
and that's probably, dude, that's being kind to yourself seems like such a stupid suggestion.
Mm.
Oh, no shit, I should be kind to myself. Like, yeah, I
Right.
bet I would feel better. But if you really do just make a reinforced effort to,
Yes.
the amount of difference you feel is night and day.
Mm.
Night and
You've
day.
you've said so many things in the last few minutes that have sparked something within me. You said kind to yourself. You said self-leniency. And at the very
Yeah.
beginning of the podcast, you were talking about tea and its relationship to anxiety. And all three of those things, I might as quickly share a little bit from my perspective. And I loved
Hmm?
hearing yours.
Sorry for the delay, guys, or for the technical difficulties. So we were where we were is we were talking about, you were summarizing a couple things that I hit on that
Yeah.
you resonated with.
Yeah, yeah. And you have such a great personality for a podcast. I mean, I've never met you before, but it's just like it's remarkable between the visual elements, it just puts me right at ease. And I just loved what you said about being friends with yourself, practicing self-leniency, and then also something you mentioned early on about tea and anxiety. And I guess I just wanted to share a little bit from my own perspective, and it's very inspiring because if I learned anything from this last album, this Cha album, is that each person who spoke on the album and each person I get to know more and more deeply in the tea community has a slightly different relationship for tea. And it's like tea is not a cure-all.
Mm-mm.
If you're suffering or having a difficult time, drinking, you know, 30 grams of tea is not going to make it go away. But I look at your face right now and I see you sipping and I see you smiling and I know how I'm feeling drinking this 2015 oolong from Nepal, and it's like it's a conduit. And so it can help accelerate our process. And you were like, right when we first sat down, you said you were looking for something that would help you kind of achieve that state and alleviate anxiety. And of course it doesn't supplant the need for the internal work, but if we're willing to do it, it can help take us there, and it's helped take me there. And when I spend more and more time with like-minded people who are willing to look within, and then having processed it and articulated it, share it out into the world, it makes it that much easier to continue that journey of self-love, self-friendship, self-forgiveness, and leniency, like you said. And it's kind of remarkable from being an kind of introverted, exhausted by the world, slightly terrified of an unforeseeable future type guy, to be able to sit here comfortable in my own skin, working on Infusion 12, communing with a fellow tea head, that's quite a transformation. And so if there happens to be someone tuning in who's feeling perhaps isolated or plagued by a sense of critical self internal dialogue or anxiety, I will say we're here, right now,
Yeah.
speaking with you and to you, and we are available. The tea is available to you, the community is available to you, as is the transformation. And please keep walking that journey and join us because it's a beautiful life.
There really is. There's a lot of people that they, even though they may have an entrance into the tea community, they know it exists. They even though they hear somebody welcome, just hey, if you ever need anything, but they still feel like I don't want to bother that person. Or,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'll tell you, sometimes sometimes you got to put that away and just sort of take a chance. If you really are a person who's in a spot where you feel you need some help,
yeah.
and you're looking for someone, odds are, I mean, I can't imagine many people in the tea community that if you message them and you were like,
Right,
I'm having a hard time, I wanted to ask, how do you get through hard times? I don't think there's many people that would be like, go find your own answer. Like,
right, right, right.
this is out of all the industries I've ever worked in, this has been a part of, like, this is by far the most humble, the most honest, like, it's unbelievable how much of the true character of tea even carries into the industry.
Mm, yeah,
It's impressive because, I mean, every industry, even including the tea industry, has its issues. But I mean,
sure.
to see how much different it is, and I'd really have to attribute it to just the history of tea and what its uses are. I don't think
Yeah,
it's that much of a coincidence.
yeah.
And tea didn't, like you said, it didn't solve my anxiety. It wasn't like a pill that I took and I made it go away. In fact, if I drink too much tea, which today kind of looks like I'm getting there, it'll create anxiety for me.
Yeah, same.
Um, but the this practice, and it's not. I say practice, I say ceremony, but what I really mean is just me making tea. And
Yeah,
what that defines specifically for me is just sitting down, separating myself from the day, uh, having I prefer a tea table because I think
yeah,
it's like the stage.
yeah,
It's the thing that tells me this is this time.
yeah,
This is for this is what's in front of you. What's on this piece of wood technically is like all that's important right now.
yeah, yeah,
So, or rather, it's all you have to focus on.
yeah.
So then you got however many teaware pieces you use in how you make tea, but just that water in, water out, first infusion, enjoy it,
Mm,
look at the leaves, smell the leaves, just notice how it makes you feel, and now you go on to the second steep, and you get every new steep is this whole like it's really something that I talk about with great passion. And if somebody third party listens in, they're just going to assume this is any old just people geeking out over what they're into. And I get that because a lot of the stuff I say, a lot of the beliefs I have now, how I live my life, and really like what I believe in. If my younger teenage self saw me, I would absolutely giggle, like laugh to my friends and be like, "Oh my god, look at this guy!" Like 110%. If I was talking about the energy within the tea, and I would have gone, "Cool, dude," but like so I'm like very very resistant to the possibility of something being so actually pure and so life changing. But
yeah,
dude, the more I've not tried to poke holes in it, but when there's been opportunity for a hole to be poked, I've peered my eye, and it's just for how well it works for how many people and how many different ways. And then that's the other thing
yeah.
is like, so I use tea because yes, I like to enjoy it, and it helps me organize and calm my day. You could get something completely different out of tea, and then the
Right.
next person completely different from that. So it really is as many teas as there
Mm,
are ways to enjoy tea.
Mm.
And I think it's like you think about that saying, "It's not my cup of tea." Like you'd have to guess the root of that saying. I would have to
Right.
guess is it really is that whoever made
Yeah.
that saying knew of how
Yeah.
there's a lot of variety out there. So they were like,
Yeah.
this is not my cup of tea, but to say that it's not to say that you there isn't a cup of tea for you.
Yes.
And even like there's like Lap Sang Suchong, I'm not a huge fan of, but
Me neither.
to say that there's there's no Lap Sang Suchong out there that I'll like is
Right.
in my eyes that's like ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
just the amount of variability I know is remotely even possible is like no probability alone. There's got to be
Yeah.
one out there, at least one
Yeah.
out there. It would blow my
Yeah. Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. Yep. Well said.
So I try to. That's like a big thing of like. I always try to not say no to a tea,
Yeah.
like especially if
Yeah.
it's being offered. Like if
Yeah.
somebody's specifically like, "Hey, I have this Nepalese oolong. I would really like to share it with you." Even if I'm not that big on Nepal tea, say my overall experience really is that it's not that it's not as good as maybe
Yeah.
Chinese tea can be.
Yeah.
It's still super important to at least I think it is to keep yourself open to the possibility of being
Yeah.
pleased by something rather than look to having the bad experience again. Look at it and
Mm-hmm.
say like maybe it'll be a positive experience, and if it's not, then okay, then you take one more check mark and you put it under negative experiences, but I mean, for me to really say that there's a tea type or a tea itself that I just have no hope for, that there's like, I really, and there's some strong teas I really do not enjoy drinking. I
Yeah.
really don't enjoy drinking, or ones I'm very much not impressed by. Like Rogoi
Yeah.
is one of those.
Oh, really?
People, almost everyone I know either loves that tea or at least has had an experience with that tea that
Yeah.
they are just at least very fond of, to say the least.
Same. Yep.
And so I hear this and I go, wow, this sounds like a great experience. I want to have this experience. So I've it's not like it's just at first I'm wondering, oh, maybe it's just who I'm getting it from. Maybe I need to just get a more but I was like then specifically started like getting it from people who 100% knew what they were talking about, and
Wow.
I was drinking it and I was just it's not like again, it's not that I want to spit it out. It's not gross. It's not it just I drink it and I don't have that sort of like aha experience that I have with many other teas. So it's like I really wonder why that tea specifically just doesn't
Hmm.
open up as well.
Interesting.
But I don't shut myself again. I won't ever never say never. Like I especially if somebody offers me a cup of tea, like
Yeah.
specifically like if they want to share it,
Yeah.
if somebody like cares about your preference enough to like, hey, I really want to share this with you. Like
Yeah.
I'll sit down and share it with you.
Yeah.
And at least if nothing else, the experience will be rich.
Yeah. 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 Well said.
But do you get around at all locally? What state are you in?
I'm in Oregon. I live in Bend, Oregon. So it's kind of a small town, not too tea driven.
I've
Um,
heard of it.
yeah, it's cool. It's mostly people that like to ski and mountain bike and do whitewater kayaking. It's very outdoorsy, not that artsy.
Do you get
Um,
do you have do you ever have any chances to get together with tea people?
yeah, yeah. There's a tea head young kid with an amazing nose and palate. He lives in Corvallis, which is about 2.5 hours away, but he's from here and he comes home during spring break. He's an engineer, studying to be an engineer, and I sit down with him a couple times every time he comes back, and his nose and his reverence and his particular interest in purple teas and some other stuff that's not quite my same angle just enriches my life. And other than that, in terms of people that bring their own history into it, not much. But I'm always spreading the Gong Fu Cha word. I'm hosting pourings for 8, for 6, for 2. whether they're, from people that are shopping for pottery or people that I play volleyball with, or just other connections, and just inviting them to come on a full stomach, inviting them to
Yeah.
take the time and to understand that we're going to be sitting here with our tea for 2 to 3 hours, which is not, people think of a coffee date as being 1 hour,
Mm-hmm.
but if we're going to try 5 teas and we're going to sit and pour for 8 people, so I'm always trying to spread it and just live it. But certainly I would love to have a little bit more community, and I'm hoping on the East Coast I can find that.
Where are you? Are you moving this way?
Yeah, we're moving to Providence this
That's
summer.
right. That's right. That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
Oh, dude, I'll tell you. My aunt lives in Rhode Island.
Oh, cool.
I've spent a lot of time in Rhode Island.
I've never been.
It's like it's the smallest state ever. Like
That's what I've
you
heard.
can literally drive across the state in 20 minutes. Like,
That's crazy
yeah,
to me.
but it is close to Massachusetts, close to, I mean,
Yeah.
it is a fantastic hub. Like,
Cool.
and Rhode Island itself, there's a lot of cool stuff
Sweet.
in Rhode Island. Like, there's some really, really nice, fancy, like, what's the name of it? There's like Newport is like
Yeah.
huge,
That's
huge
what I've
place
heard.
you gotta go to. All these fancy
Yes.
shops and stuff. It's got
Sounds
some,
fun.
so even for a tiny small state, it's got a lot of
Yeah.
like cute stuff in it. And then you're also close to other states that have other stuff
Yeah.
going on. So the East Coast, I think, I mean, I don't really know the West Coast all that well, but the East Coast is starting to really start to adapt the idea of enjoying a better tea. Like, I think when you present the information to somebody of like, oh, you drink tea, and they go, oh yeah, I drink tea. You go, what are you normally drinking? And they'll say, oh, I'm drinking X, Y, and Z. And then you'd be like, oh, well, if you're interested, I mean, this is like, if you present an option for a finer product,
Yeah.
like they really get that here. Like, especially if they're confused at first and you just equate it to wine.
Yeah.
Like, why is this bottle of wine more expensive than this bottle of wine?
Right.
They'll immediately after you show them that, they'll make the connection and go, oh, okay, so you're not full of crap then. I get this. No, there really is probably a better tea.
Yes.
But like sometimes right off the bat, they hear that and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I've had good tea before. But
right.
I think I've found, and I think you're probably agree that you're finding that if you just sit down, you brew up some tea, good tea, it's brewed well, you share it out with a humble just invitation.
Yeah.
Non-aggressive invitation.
Yes.
Dude, if you do that, they'll like it. Like, if they're curious, my thing is if they're curious enough to step up and say, oh, I like tea, what do you have here? If they're curious enough to do that, then if you brew a nice tea well enough, there is zero reason why that person will not enjoy that tea, no matter what it is.
Yes.
No matter what it is, even if they're not a black tea person, like I've when I started doing markets in New York, everybody was like, "Oh, New York's a coffee," which it is. It's a coffee state, but everybody's like, "Oh, it's gonna be so hard to do tea," and like, But it's like I said, just you sit down and you brew it, and once people know that it is just as easy as messaging you and being like, "Hey, could I maybe sit down for a tasting?" And you just going, "Yeah, of course, let's do it," and having no judgment, having no explaining just as much as they want explained, but not overloading them. I find that the non-aggressive approach is the real one of how to get people into tea. Like, the more you kind of like aggravate somebody and try to be a salesman, like the more you'll push them away.
Yeah, truth.
So we are out of time officially now.
What a pleasure.
Dude, I'm so glad that we got to connect, and I'm so glad I got to learn so much more about you than just as simple as you being just the tea rapper. Because that was I asked a few people, I was like, tell me just a little bit more about this guy. like, is he just a rapper, or is he like, is he an interesting guy? And a bunch of people were like, no, he's a really interesting guy. He's super easy to talk to. And I was like,
Cool.
I go, then that's literally, and I like exploring obviously the name T and stuff is because like it's not just tea. Like my life's not
Right.
just about tea. But
Right.
it's interesting how many people I know that do all these super interesting things that
Yeah.
in one way or another you can very easily relate or draw back to tea.
Yeah.
So that's why it was like, all right, I'm just gonna start gathering up all these interesting people and all these, and then I hear like a tea musician, and I was like, this is not a realm that I've talked to before. So I was like, this is high in my interest. And then now after talking to you, I mean, you are insanely humble. You are unbelievably kind, easy to talk to, and as for your music, you're very, very talented as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, so, if people want to get a hold of you, what is your favorite way to be contacted? Do you have a
I just
preferred?
love Instagram, man. Just DM me or
Yeah.
comment on a post, hit me up, and let's do a T swap or
Oh, for
come
sure, man.
or yeah, or not you and I, but the people that want to contact me. Like, let's do a T swap. Let's exchange snail mail. Let's get your voice on the next audio project. If you have a feeling about tea, let's build. And that's just how I feel. IG just another T blog.
Awesome, man. I'll do a last cheers to you. I
Yeah.
hope that you remain healthy and happy. I hope that your moves are always stressful, but I hope that it's
Truth.
the least stressful it can be.
Thank you.
And I mean, until our paths cross again on video, cheers.
Yes. Cheers to you, Jeffrey. Thanks for having me.